Is theological study at Trinity College the next step for you? Rocco, the resident dog, thinks so. Whether you're looking to upskill, pivot, or embark on a brand new journey, find out all you need to know at the Trinity College Theological School Open House Tuesday, October 14. Get a glimpse into life as a student at Trinity College Theological School. You might even meet Rocco. Register today. Search Trinity College Theological School Open House. Faithful learning for faithful living.
I spent some time in China as a part of YWAM when I worked with them, and we did a 7-week trip over there. I took a team and we met for the first day in a hotel with our local contact, and then we never saw him again, just to protect what they were doing in that space. But he said there are 30 million people in this city. Bring in God in the conversation in the first 2 minutes, and if they're not interested, move on. And we were like, oh, that's so harsh. These people, he said, yeah, but there's soft ground and there's hard ground. And what you're looking for is the people who are soft ground, because then you're going to have an effective time. And it felt a bit harsh to be like, just move on. But it was so true. There was one lady that I met up with a couple of times, at a different, coffee shop or at a KFC or something, you meet up with them. And all she wanted to talk about was travel and English. And it was like, okay, I wanted to give this, give it a go, but she wasn't open to the gospel. She wasn't open to talking about God. And then...
Welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Joy podcast. I'm your host, Ash Couchman, and I cannot wait to find moments of joy with you today. I am so excited to be diving into the Word of God together today. Let's jump into the conversation. Welcome back to the podcast, Kate.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. What's your favorite day of the week?
Oh,
do you have a fave? Because I feel like I'm rogue. I love a Monday. I really enjoy a Monday.
I like the fresh Monday.
Yeah.
Especially here in the office, there's not many people.
No distractions.
Yeah, you get a lot done. I enjoy a Thursday. I feel like it doesn't get a lot of love. I feel like it's like the pre-Friday, but it's also... It's just the final day to get a lot of stuff done, because Fridays not always super productive on a Friday. I don't know.
Whereas though we're all in the office on a Thursday.
That's true.
So I feel like my Thursday is like my more unproductive day.
It's a bit manic.
Because it's like literally I just got back from a trip the other day, and on my first day back, I know this is so terrible, but I had so much work to do. I didn't go into any of the other parts of the office. I came straight in here because I was like, I don't have time I don't have time to retell the stories of what happened on the trip. I was like, and I also
send out a office-wide memo. This is what Ash did. Do not ask me.
I need to send an office-wide email being like, this is my favorite part. This is the best. It's not because I don't want to talk to people. I just had so much to do. I was like, I don't have time.
I love that.
But you have been very busy lately.
I have.
You are, I feel like you're the lady of endeavors. You have so many cool, genius ideas, and you've just kind of launched one that I thought we'd give it a little cheeky plug on the podcast, because I know we've got lots of single ladies, even some single guys that listen to the podcast, and you've got a pretty cool thing that you've just launched.
I definitely am entrepreneurial. I have a lot of Instagram pages that I manage. I am, as we've talked about, I'm recently single again after a wonderful, intense but short-lived relationship. A little bit heartbroken and realizing, oh gosh, how do I find people? It felt like a miracle to find him after 8 years on dating apps. I have beautiful friends at church, lots of single guys in the sort of 30 to 50 year age group, but I don't want to date any of them. But I'm just not meeting any new people, and I want to meet people in real life. So my friend Macklin and I have started a thing called Middle Ground, and the whole idea is to make the middle meaningful and this kind of middle stage of life. And it's a group for single Christians in Melbourne, 30-ish to 50-ish, where we're going to create real in-person events that are with the aim of building faith-filled connection and hopefully finding some love in the space there as well. And so our first event is a speed dating event on the 1st of November. The website is middlegroundmelb.com.au. Middle Ground Melbourne was already taken by a cafe or something. So this is middlegroundmelb.com.au, and it's a speed dating event. We would love you to come along. Be brave. Step outside. If you also feel like you're not meeting enough new people and the people around you are wonderful but you don't want to date them, then it's an opportunity to meet people from other churches, build some friendships and connections, and maybe to find love, which,
So cool.
it's kind of, maybe I did all this so that I could find love again. Definitely would love that. But also I'm a bit of a be the change you want to see in the world kind of person, as you said. So that's why we started Middle Ground.
I love that.
To do that. So this will be the first event, 1st of November. It'll be in Blackburn, and we're looking to sort of, probably after that it'll be in the next year, hopefully every 3 months, if not more regularly, depending on the attention and how many people jump on board. Different types of events that are really encouraging connection. It will take boldness and courage. Even if you're coming on your own, you got to get up out of your comfort zone, and things won't change unless we change and unless we take action. So that's why I'm setting it up. Yeah.
Very cool. Very exciting. I'll try and leave the link so people can have a bit of a peeky peek. But I'm excited and I'm proud of you because you are the kind of person where it's like you will fill the gap. Where you see the need, you'll stand
if there's
in the
a
gap.
Disruption, I'm looking for a way to solve that.
My pastor said this really interesting thing once, and this is less about, just general life and it was more in like a church life context. But he said, normally the things that frustrate you or that you're upset about or that you can't see a way out of, sometimes they're the things God's calling you to. And so I think it's kind of like almost yesterday's episode where we were talking about, being uncomfortable and putting ourselves in situations where we need to grow. Sometimes the things that frustrate us the most or that we aren't seeing enough change in our world, sometimes that's actually the ministry that God's calling us to step into and lead and do things in. And I love that you do that with just such a boldness. I love that about you, Kate.
Thank you. And I think if I go on that, just another kind of quote is the idea of we shouldn't be allowed to complain unless we also take action. Ooh. And I think that it's so easy to complain about something that's not working, but we're not willing to be the person to fix it and to take action. And so it's very easy to complain. It's very hard to take action. And so for me, that's kind of a little bit of my life ethos is, if something isn't working, if you don't like something, do something about it.
I love that. I love that so much, Kate. I feel like I could learn from you rather than whinging all the time.
What good is it for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? It's from Mark 8:36.
What are your first thoughts when you hear this, Kate?
I felt very convicted as I read this, especially in the light of the whole Charlie Kirk thing that's happened in the last month or two. Yeah. I am someone who was aware of him, and I'm quite conservative in my Christian and political beliefs, and so I loved his courage. I loved his boldness. I loved that he was so known in the public space for his faith, and he was constantly pointing people back to Jesus. It's because of the belief and the values that he had. And for me, I felt really challenged because I feel like in real life, if you meet me, sure, I'm talking about Jesus, but online in my kind of social media, in my different personas, I've been very vanilla. I've been like, I might go to church and do these things, but I haven't been bold and confident in my faith. And so this whole idea of, Kate, you could build this great platform, but if you have not built it on the standard, on the foundation of the solid rock of the Lord, I'm gaining all this, but I've lost something in the meantime. And so I have a few friends who are Christians online. And look, I'm not advocating, I don't want to have arguments on the internet with people. I don't think that's helpful. I don't think that it
gets us anywhere.
No, I think there's always misunderstanding, and there's never the hug for friendship at the end. Yeah. Or the high five, see you next week. And so everything is misconstrued. You don't actually have a proper conversation. So I'm not an advocate for that. But I also think that because of the very strong, if I can say, the sort of the left idea of tolerance and acceptance, and that this is how we would like to live, you have to be okay with that, and you have to agree with that, and you have to call us what we want to be called and all that kind of thing. If I just I'm being a bit vague there, but the idea, and I think that as a Christian, I've been a little bit afraid of being offensive and not wanting to be called intolerant or to, you know, not care for people. And so because of that, I think I've been quiet in terms of my love for Jesus and using my voice to not only encourage and inspire and empower and sing, but also to speak truth about my faith. And so that's been a really interesting kind of space, is what am I building that will get me accolades in this life but gets me nowhere in heaven. I don't know. Thoughts on that, Ash?
Yeah, I think I totally get you. I think that for me, we can be so intimidated by other people's point of view without even realizing. And I think it's really funny because I totally am on the same, you know, you have like the filters that you run through your head. You're like, okay, well, I won't talk about this and I won't talk about this and I'm not going to post this but I also think we're doing ourselves and the Lord a disservice when we aren't bold and we aren't, you know, stepping out. And I think I've actually become better over the years at it, in the sense of I don't think you could kind of go maybe a week or so on my page without having some level of knowledge of where I am in those sorts of things. But I also remember prior to that, the feeling of intimidation is so real. You run that thing through your head. You go, okay, well, people from work are going to see this, so how do I deal with this? Or you know, my family don't have a faith, so they're going to see this and they're going to think this and they're going to do this. But I actually think I have found the more I use that muscle of doing it and being bold or posting this, and like I said, we're not out here trying to, you know, create online arguments or anything, but it's the little inward decision to say, you know what, I am just going to post about Jesus. Or, you know what, I am going to post about this, or I am going to do this. Like, and the more we do it, the less that we feel afraid and the less we go, oh, actually, no one cares. Like in the sense of, I actually think we are so afraid and we have such I even remember Dr. Jody Richardson spoke about this at our Relate event a little while ago. And she actually said our brains are so good at thinking of the worst case scenario.
So true.
And our brains are so good. And like this is more from like a psychological stance, not even a faith-based stance. But we think everything is going to be the worst case scenario.
We catastrophize it.
Our brain, exactly right. Our brain will catastrophize, think this is the worst possible thing that can happen. And we hold on to it for a long time and we will stop ourselves from doing things or saying things or being, you know, who we want to be because we're so afraid of this. And the cool thing that Dr. Jody Richardson said is that's not the reality. Like it's our brain convincing ourselves that everything is worst case scenario. And so I think the more that we get bold in sharing the gospel, the more that we get bold in, you know, being authentic to our faith, the less scary it is because our brain learns, oh, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah.
And something that's really interesting is, you know, not that I'm out here with thousands of followers or anything like that, but I know people unfollow me when I post Christian content. It's really interesting. It's interesting to see, you know, when I'm posting fun things of family weddings and this and this and this, you know, it doesn't really change anything. But I've noticed when I post, you know, Christian content, even content related to this podcast, people unfollow.
Yeah,
and, you know, maybe it's people from my life that, you know, jobs that I worked when I was younger or different things. But it is really interesting. But a part of me goes, you know what, God, that's okay. It's not about numbers. It's about who's willing to listen.
Absolutely.
And so I think for me, even if it is simply your family that follows you on social media, but 20% of your family don't have a faith, great. Yeah. Go for it. Share the things that God's doing in your life. Be bold enough to, you know, talk about it.
It reminds me, I'm jumping in there, of I spent some time in China as a part of YWAM when I worked with them, and we did a 7-week trip over there. I took a team and we met for the first day in a hotel with our local contact, and then we never saw him again, you know, just to protect what they were doing in that space. So then we could, you know, if we got arrested and sent home, it didn't, you know, throw back to what the people were doing on the ground. Not that happened. It was during the Olympics. They weren't going to arrest white tourists. But he said there are 30 million people in this city. Bring in God in the conversation in the first 2 minutes. And if they're not interested, move on. And we were like, oh, that's so harsh. You know, these people, he said, yeah, but there's soft ground and there's hard ground. And what you're looking for is the people who are soft ground, because then you're going to have an effective time. And it felt a bit harsh to be like, just move on. But it was so true. There was one lady that I met up with a couple of times, at a different, coffee shop or at a KFC or something, you meet up with them. And all she wanted to talk about was travel and English. And it was like, okay, I wanted to give this, give it a go, but she wasn't open to the gospel. She wasn't open to talking about God. And then one lady, within 5 minutes, we were talking about God. Within 20 minutes, she was accepting Jesus, just in a public square, because she was open and she was ready. And I think that's that whole idea of that we just trust that God, will lead us into the place where people who are open and soft and ready to hear. And we can't assume that people don't want to know, that people don't want to hear. And I think we talked maybe last time I was on about this older couple who were sort of 45, 50.
You told me that.
They was so shocked. How come no one has ever explained to us who Jesus is and what they did? We're so glad that we found out, but we're in our late 40s and no one ever explained to us. And they were upset that they'd lived their whole lives and never been given the chance to know the full story. And I think we have to recognize that that's going to be more common than the people who say, I don't want to know about this.
Yeah. You shared that story maybe the last time or the time before. Or it might have even been one of the earlier days where you were on the podcast. And that story has resonated with me so much, because I think to myself, why would I selfishly, and I know it's harsh, but I've just been studying the book of James, and so it's holy slap time. It's like, why would I be so selfish to withdraw the good that I know? Yeah. And it is a bit of like I said, a holy slap sometimes, because we get so caught up in our minds and our thoughts and our worries, and I think when you hear a scripture like this, where it's like what good is it for me to have success and accolades and a great family and all of these things, but forfeit that my soul? And obviously that's kind of leaning more into the, what's the point of having this big wonderful life if at the end of the day none of it matters? But for me as a believer, I go, well, what's the point of not being bold and vulnerable and sharing? Yeah. And I think it is so important for us just to realize that there are people like that couple who are willing and ready. And even I've been reading through Acts as well lately, and when Paul or Saul was persecuting Christians, it's like he was aware of the gospel. He was aware of Christ. He probably had people, well, maybe not, because they were terrified of him, but like, he was aware. If he wanted to give his life to God, he was aware, And it was in a moment where God interceded and literally was like, this is the time. Like, this is the moment. I think that's where that story that you're sharing is so important, because the harvest is ready. Yeah. Like, there are people that are ready and willing to have that moment of, I want that soul. I want to know God. I don't need to care about this world. I want to know God. And I think for us to know, sometimes it just takes a little bit of boldness and a little bit of, we're talking a lot about social media, but I think that's because it's the most simple way we can share.
And can I share one quick encouragement? If you are wanting to be more bold with your faith, the best place to start is, hey, can I tell you a story about what God has done in my life? Yeah. Because your story, your testimony, your experience cannot be refuted. And it is real and honest for you that I went through this thing. I asked God to meet me, and this is how my life is different. That sort of, I was, God did, and now I. Sharing that little testimony doesn't have to be about your salvation experience. It can be about a moment of hardship that you've been through, a moment where you prayed and God turned up and provided in a miraculous way. That's a really great place to start. Hey, have you got a minute? Can I tell you about how God totally showed up and changed my life in this area? That's a really good place to start. It's not necessarily has to be on a soapbox saying repent and turn to Jesus. And that may be your gifting. Go for it. I love it and I bless it and I pray for you as I walk past you. But for most of us, it's going to be in those one-on-one moments. Hey, this week God was speaking to me about this. Can I tell you about it?
So cool. And I think one last thought, we keep adding to it, but is that we're actually all called to it. Sometimes I think we write ourselves off. We go, okay, well, that's not for me. I don't have to do this. I don't have to share the gospel. it's actually a call for all of us.
Yeah.
And I would give you the challenge to go, okay, how can I, even if it's as simple as sharing something that God's done in your life, how can I become more bold? Sometimes I've even set myself challenges to be like, okay, once a week, I'm going to try and have one conversation with someone, or even just reminding ourselves that sometimes it's not strangers. Sometimes it's discipling and walking with people, your best friend from high school, your family friend that maybe you avoided talking about God with because you were nervous, but now you can come with a fresh boldness. It's reminding ourselves that we're all called to it. It doesn't have to be big and crazy and wild, but it's actually going, God, how do I, in the small moments, share you and be bold enough to speak of you?
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the podcast. I hope that it encouraged you, that it's helped you through, and that it helps to challenge you through the season of life that you're facing, uplift you if you're feeling down, and most of all, I pray that you're able to draw closer and closer to God. I'm so excited to keep diving into the Word of God with you. I pray you're able to find moments of joy.
Is theological study at Trinity College the next step for you? Rocco, the resident dog, thinks so. Whether you're looking to upskill, pivot, or embark on a brand new journey, find out all you need to know at the Trinity College Theological School Open House Tuesday, October 14. Get a glimpse into life as a student at Trinity College Theological School. You might even meet Rocco. Register today. Search Trinity College Theological School Open House. Faithful learning for faithful living.